Hi everyone, welcome back to CA Final Financial Reporting Solution Discussion for November 2020 examination paper. So this is part 4. In the previous 3 videos, we discussed solution to question number 1, 2, 3. So in this part 4 video, we'll be discussing solution to question number 4. So without wasting much time, come on, let me start sharing my screen and you will start seeing the question on the board. So this is our paper from November 2020. We are done till question number 3. Let us now do question number 4. Yes, here it is our question number 4. So without wasting much time, come on, let's get started. I'm going to go down. Yeah. So 4A. On 1st of April 2019, an 8% convertible loan with a nominal value of 12 lakh was issued at par by Cargo Limited. So this is a financial instrument based question because you're issuing something like a financial instrument. Looks like a debt instrument, at least on the prima facie. It is redeemable on 31st of March 2023. So 1920, 2021, 1920, 2021, 21, 22, 22, 23. So it basically is held for 4 years. So this financial instrument is been issued for how many years? 4 years, exactly like the question. So it's been issued for 4 years. Then alternatively, it may be converted into equity share. So it has an option to be converted into equity share. And if this being the factor that there is a convertible option given and interest rate, if it would have been differential, if this debt instrument didn't carry this convertible option, then we would have to take that expected payments in the future, discount them, and that discounted cash flows in the future cash flows ka discounted value will be our debt part and the remaining part will become equity part. So this would be a question which is relevant to compound financial instrument, meaning a financial instrument which has certain part of it which behaves like debt and certain part of it which behaves like equity, or single financial instrument with debt and equity components. Yeah, let us read the question further. On the basis of 100 new shares for each of rupees 200 worth of loan. Okay, great. An equivalent loan without conversion option. Yeah, this is the interesting aspect. Have a look at this. So if there was no conversion option, without the conversion option, would have carried interest at 10%. So because now you're giving them an option to convert their debt, that is convertible loan into an equity share in the future. So this becomes what? Compound financial instrument. So there is an option given. If it was not that, if we didn't have that conversion option, interest would have been 10%. Because it has that conversion option, interest rate right now is 8%. So there is differential interest there. Yeah. So the discounting should be in a what rate? You have to discount it at 10%, whereas the interest is actually charged at 8%, meaning they would have paid 12 lakh into 8%, 96,000 is the interest they might have been considering. But under Ind AS, what is it that we should do? We should discount this future payments of 96,000 every year and 12 lakh 96,000 in year 4 at 10%. Find the present value. On that present value, we charge 10%. That becomes our interest. You get that? I'll show you the entire answer. Need not worry. I'm just telling you the overview now. Interest at 96,000 has been already paid. They have paid interest at 12, to say 96,000. So how did they arrive at this value of 96,000? 96,000 is arrived at 12 lakh into 8%. But is that how we compute interest expense? No. So future payments discounted value multiplied by 10%. That's how we find. So as the correct rate that should be considered is 10 and the rate that they've considered is 8, some amount of expense is undercosted. We would have to recompute that expense which is not recorded and treat it as an expense. I'll tell you how to do that. Yeah, let's just chill for a moment. Already been paid and included in finance cost. Okay, the present value, they've given the rates 8% and 10%. So you need not recompute them using a calculator. And very important, usually we take 3 digits and 4 digits. Here they've given 2 digits, take 2 digits only. You don't take third digit or fourth digit based on your assumption or calculator. Let us keep our answers as close to the suggested answers as much possible. Get that? So ICAI will release suggested answer. We'd have to keep our answer closest to that. That's our intention. So I'll go with these 2-digit figures only. How will the company present the above loan notes in financial statements? Okay, for 31st of March 2020. Come on, let us go ahead. Let us start with the solution. Solution to question number 4A. 4A. That's how we're writing, isn't it? Yeah, question number 4A. Let us start. We're doing was issued on par by Cargo in the books of Cargo Limited. We're doing it for whom? We're doing it for Cargo Limited in the books of Cargo Limited. Yeah. Now, what is there in this particular case? This is basically Ind AS 32 based question. What is it? Financial instrument. There's a question on financial instruments. Okay. What is it? Financial instrument given 8% convertible. Am I right? Is it 8%? Yes, it is 8% convertible. 8% convertible. What is this? This is actually a compound financial instrument. Compound financial instrument. Now, how much is this 8% convertible loan? This 8% convertible loan is to the extent of 12 lakh rupees. Yes, 12 lakh rupees. Now, this 8% convertible loan, whatever is there to the extent of 12 lakh, has two parts. Has two parts. What two parts? Equity. Equity component, and then other part in this is, okay, I'll do one thing. I'll cut this, I'll paste it here, I'll merge these two. Yes, perfect. So there are two parts. One is equity component. Sorry. Next is debt component. And our entire part in the solution our responsibility in the solution is to identify how much of it is the debt component, how much of it is the equity component. How do you find it? The total is 12 lakh. We do know that. Now we need to find how much is the debt component out of this 12 lakh. And from 12, if we subtract the debt component, we'll arrive at the equity component. You get that? So total loan less debt component. Once I do this, I'll arrive at the equity component. Now the question is, how do I arrive at the debt? Let's say this total loan is 12 lakh. That is pretty easy. You get that. And debt component, you would have to find. How do you find the debt component? It is found as present value of future cash payments against a 8% convertible loan. You have to find this. Now, here the important key is discounting factor is to be considered at 10%. See, they've given very clearly that if not for this convertible option, interest would have been how much? At 10%. So discounting factor is to be considered is 10%. So I'll write here this. Let me merge this. I'll take one more column so that it will become perfect to look at least. Yeah. And then what is it? Discounting factor. Factor is 10%. Discounting factor should be 10% in this case. Come on, let us do this. How do we do it? It's actually not that difficult to do. It's pretty easy. We have the debt payments. Do we? Yes, we do. So I'll take, can I do it here? Yes, this should be fine. Year. What is the year? Year 1920. 2019, 2020. 2020, 2021. 2021, 2022, 2022, 2023. So these are the 4 years for which we're basically doing this computation. Now let us write the, what they say, the cash payments or payments, cash payments. What is the cash payments? They've told 12 lakh is the loan and the interest is at 8%. 8% convertible loan is a component. So you would have to pay interest. Interest at what rate? 96,000. Interest at, how am I arriving at 96,000? Simple. 12 lakh into 8%. 12 lakh loan, 8% interest. That is 96,000 towards interest. You get that? So cash payment, here it is 96,000 for year 1, for year 2 as well, for year 3 as well, because they have not told that the, or to say, the principal is repaid anytime during the first 3 years. So we'll assume that the entire principal is repaid only at the end of year 4. They have nowhere mentioned in the question that the principal is redeemable in the year. So they've, no, in fact, they've told it is redeemable on March 31st, 2023. So principal repayment is only after 4 years. In the first 3 years, there is no principal repayment. So 96,000, 96,000, 96,000 is repaid. In the year 4, you would repay 96,000 interest plus principal 96,000. So I would write it here. Okay, in fact, I will make it more easy for you. Interest 12 lakh multiplied by 8% to make it just easy for you, to ensure that you don't get confused with what it is. Yeah, but again, in the same year, you would again pay principal repayment also. Principal repayment. How much will be principal repayment? Principal repayment will be 12 lakhs. This is the cash payments that you have. So next we would have to find the discounting factor. Discounting factor is given to us here, or the present value factor. Yes. There's another way of doing this. Instead of taking present value factor, we can take present value annuity factor. See, it's 96,000 for 4 years altogether. So I can add 96, 96, 96, and then add up these present value factors 0.91, 0.83, 0.75, 0.68, and then multiply. But however, I am going to go with the original figures only. You can do that in the exam. It is totally accepted. You will still get full marks. 0.91. Then we have 0.83, 0.83, 0.75 and 0.68. 0.75, 0.68, 0.68. Very important factor, very important thing, present value factor at 10%. At 10%, note that. Then here also it will be 0.68 all by itself. Year 4, isn't it? Now the present value cash flows. PVCF. How much is the present value of future cash flows? Or I can keep this present value at 10%. Yes. Okay, tell me what will be the values. This is 96,000 multiplied by 0.91. Same thing I would have to do for the rest also. I just do it. I'll get this. Now I'm going to do the totaling. Ta-da-da. Yes, I've got the total. The total is 11 lakh. I'll just put the comma so that will become easier. Yeah, 11 lakh 20,320. 11 lakh 20,320. That exactly is the value of the debt component. Yeah, we just arrived at what component? The debt component. Now I'm going to make this bold. Yeah, let us write our debt component. What is the debt component, guys? The debt component of the loan is 11 lakh 20,320. How much will be the equity component? Equity component is total convertible loan less debt component. That is 12 lakh minus 11 lakh 20,320. Yes, how much would that be? would get 79,680. 79,680 is the equity component, and the debt component is 11,20,320. You get that? The answer isn't done there. Yeah, we need to note that they have charged 12 lakh into 8% and arrived at 96,000 as annual interest. But for the very first year, your interest will not be 96,000. How much will be your interest? You would recognize the debt at 11 lakh 2320. On that, you would charge 10%, and such 10% of the amount will become our, what do you say? Yes, that will become our interest expense for year one. I'll show it to you. Here, if I go for 2019, 2020, opening debt will be how much? We have to recognize the debt at 11,20,320. Now, on this, interest is to be computed at what rate? At 10% now. It will not be computed at 8%. Interest at 10% is equal to 11,20,320 multiplied by 10%. That comes to how much? 1,12,032. However, how much is paid? Okay, paid. I'll take the paid part. How much interest is paid? Interest is paid to the extent of 96,000. You only pay 96,000 interest. Remaining interest is notional in nature. You get that? 96,000 is paid. Now closing debt. How much will be the closing debt? Closing debt is opening debt plus the interest minus the paid part. That is 11,36,352. So this is the value of the debt that should be shown in our financial statements for the year ending 31st of March 2020. You get that? Yeah. So let me quickly tell you a few things. Expense, interest expense. I'm just summarizing the entire answer for you. Interest expense. How much is the interest expense? Interest expense will be equal to 1,12,032. Yeah. Already they have told what is it? It's paid and recognized. Already paid and including finance cost. Okay. Included in finance cost. How much is included in finance cost out of this? 96,000 is included in finance cost. Okay. To be added to finance cost in your statement of profit or loss. How much should we add to our finance cost? We are supposed to add the balance amount because the total expense should come to 1,12,032. So the finance interest expense is 1,12,032 rupees. However, of that 96,000 is previously recognized, and what is to be recognized now is 16,032. So this is one important aspect of our answer. This is the notes to what is a statement of profit or loss, you can say. Yeah. Next thing, equity. How much is our equity? The equity should be recognized at 79,680. And lastly, debt. Debt has to be recognized at what rate? Debt has to be recognized as the closing rate. 11,36,352 has to be recognized as debt. You guys get that? So this is how it will affect our financial statements. So this is it. We're done with this answer to question number 4A. So now it's good time. We can definitely go to question number 4B. Come on, let's go to question number 4B. Let us see 4B now. 4B is John Limited. Yeah, let's start reading the question. 4B discusses about John Limited has identified 4 segments. So this is basically a segment reporting based question for which revenue data is given as below. They've given A, B, C, D, external sales, internal sales, and total. And the following information is given about segment C, and they've told Discuss which of the segments would be reportable under the threshold criteria identifiable in Ind AS 108 and why. So let us come on quickly get into the solution. Question number 4b. Question 4b. Yeah, this is with regard to John Limited. Yeah, Ind AS 108, which talks about segment reporting. Let me just give you a very quick understanding of segment reporting and what exactly is expected. An organization will report its entire financials, entire operations and entire results in a way, but if it would wish to report segment-wise reporting, how can they basically identify segments? So identify segments can be based on the operations, can be based on the product, can be based on the service, can be based on the geographical location they belong to, and multiple other factors. And how do you pick this? This I usually call it MART. So I would say identifying segments. Identifying reporting segments. Identifying reporting segments. I basically identify the segments based on 4 categories. MART, it is M-A-R-T. So what is MART? MART is how I remember, where M basically stands for management discretion. Management wants to consider a certain segment as a reportable segment. Can they? Yes, definitely. Second one, A, is assets. So assets is the second category, what I would say. R is what I call results. Results is nothing but profit or loss, guys. Profit or loss. And profit making segments, loss making segments should be considered separately. Now you cannot take loss as negative profit. No. That's a mistake. Don't do that. And T is turnover. Turnover is nothing but our, what exactly do we say? Revenue. That is the word that is used in our standard. They call it revenue, I call it turnover, pallet. It's all the same. So what is it? So this is the acronym that with which usually I remember. So identifying reporting segments based on the management discretion, assets, results, profit or loss, and turnover. And how exactly do we go ahead with this? I'm getting a call, so I just dropped a message saying that I'll call back. With respect to these things, exceeds 10%. Okay, reportable segment. Reportable if it exceeds 10% of total or 10% in aggregate. Yeah, if it exceeds 10% in aggregate, then it will be considered as a reportable segment. To just help you understand what I mean when I say 10%, if an organization has, if a segment has more than 10% of total assets, that's a reportable segment. If a segment has more than 10% of the total profits, it is reportable segment. If it has more than 10% in of the total turnover, then it is reportable segment. So this is an important characteristic. However, there's another thing. If you identify reportable segments like this, that's not done. Yeah. There's another important thing that we need to note, that total external turnover, or we can say, what do you say, revenue from reportable segments should sum up to how much? Should sum up to 75%. Okay, once we identify certain segments as reportable segments, we should add the external turnover, not the internal turnover or not the total turnover, only the external turnover of this identified reportable segments. The total should come up to 75% in aggregate. If it is less than 75%, then such other segments can be identified as reportable segments to increase the external revenue from the reportable segments to come to 75%. This can happen in management description, but it can happen in a lot of other bases also. You get that? So that's with respect to the basic understanding of Ind AS 108. So let us see this. So what is the total turnover here? We will not say internal external now. First initial condition, we'll see entire 12 lakh 80 as well. So 12 lakh 80 is the total. So how much is the 10% of it? It's 1 lakh 28,000. If you see 1 lakh 28,000, whatever exceeds 1 lakh 28 is reportable segment. Whatever doesn't exceed 1 lakh 28 is non-reportable segment. 4 lakh exceeds 1 lakh 28, reportable segment. 80,000 doesn't exceed reportable, 1 lakh 28,000, it is not reportable. 1 lakh 10 doesn't exceed, not reportable. 6 lakh 90 exceeds, reportable segment. So A and D are reportable segments. A and D are reportable segments. Then we would have to check the second two parts. Okay, let me show you how to present this in the exam. Segment A, B, C, D. Okay, turnover. Turnover, how much is it? 4 lakh. Or I can make it simple. Segment A and D are reportable segments. Okay, let me write it a little differently. And what this entire thing is not part of our answer. You need not write this in the exam. This is just for your understanding, guys. Just for your understanding. Yeah. Segment A and D are reportable segments as turnover exceeds 10% of total turnover. Very important. Now, reportable segments. Let's check the second condition. Reportable segments A and reportable segment D. External turnover. How much is their external turnover? External turnover is 4 lakh and 70,000. 4 lakh and 70,000. Get that? No. Total turnover. Total. Okay. Total comes to how much? 4 lakh 70. Yeah. Now, total external turnover is how much? Total external turnover is 6 lakh 40,000. I'll write here. It is 6 lakh 40,000. Now, what is the percentage? Percentage would be 4 lakh 70 divided by 6 lakh 40 multiplied by 100. I would have to do multiplied by 100. Multiplied by 100, it comes to 73.4375%, which is not 75%. Which is not 75%. Okay, let me write that here. This is percentage of external turnover from reportable segments. 73%. Now I'll write here as total external turnover from reportable segments is 73.43%. That is lesser than 75%. What should we do? Further reportable segments have to be identified. We have to further identify further reportable segments. Next, what do? We'll go to the next best one. Maybe we can identify C or D or B, whatever. But however, let's read the question. They've told segment C is on high growing business, is a high growing business, and management expects that the segment to make significant contribution to external revenue in coming years. So they feel like segment C will make major contribution in the coming years. So it will become a reportable segment in the coming years. Let us, however, keep it in the reportable segment from. So we can add C on management discretion. Okay. Segment C is considered as reportable segment based on the expectation of what? Expectation of high growing business, expectation of management. Now, if we consider segment C, would it come to 75% is the question. If that comes, then the answer is done. If not, we would have to further do some jugaad. Yeah. So we have already 4 lakh plus 70. 4 lakh plus 70 is there. Now, if you take C, it comes to 4 lakh, then 90, then 70. I'll just check. 4 lakh plus 90,000 plus 70,000. That comes to 5 lakh 60 divided by 6 lakh 40. That gives to 87.5%. So that's it. So the reportable segments in this case are how many? The reportable segments in this case are A, D, and C. So what are the reportable segments? A, C, and D are reportable segments. So reportable segments are segment A, C, and D. That's it. This is our answer. Yeah, this is the answer to question number 4B. I did explain you the basics of Ind AS 108 as well as the solution as to how to present it in the exam, as I'm just telling it in the vocal form. So let us now go and then discuss solution to question number 4C. Come on, let's go to 4C. Let us now discuss the solution to question number 4C. Come on, 4C. Question 4C. What does it say? P Limited and S Limited are in business of manufacturing garments, similar line of operations, really good for them. P Limited holds 30% of equity shares of S Limited. So basically, when you hold 30%, basically you're an associate there. Yeah, let's go ahead. Then S Limited for several years. It's not like 1 year, 2 years. They've been holding it for several years now. P Limited obtains control of S Limited when it acquires further 65%. So this is not like one-time acquisition. This is acquisition at multiple stages. Whenever acquisition is happening at multiple stages based on Ind AS 103 business combinations, we would have to recognize the earlier investment at the fair value. So if we recognize the old 30% investment at the fair value on the date of acquisition, that is 95% on 31st December, on this date, when we do that, such a difference should be transferred to P&L account. Yeah, let's do that. The acquisition had the following features. So this question is based on Ind AS 103 combinations. So let me just write it here. Ind AS 103 business combinations. And this question revolves around what? Revolves around acquisition that has happened at multiple stages. Okay, this is acquisition in stages. Acquisition in stages. Yeah. Okay. Earlier holding. How much? 30%. 30%, right? 30%. Okay. Control 65%. So total, how much do we hold now? So we can say 95% is the total holding. Perfect. So who's the holding here? Who's the acquirer? Who's the acquiring? P Limited is the acquirer and S Limited is the acquirer. Limited. Is yes, sir. Yeah, yes, Limited. Further, the date of acquisition is 31st December. Date of acquisition. You would need this acquisition 31st December 2019. P Limited transfers cash of rupees 5 lakh. So is cash part of your purchase consideration? The answer is yes. And issues 90,000 shares. So it is consideration not just paid in the form of cash, cash as well as shares. So these 90,000 shares, we would have to not consider the fair, we would have to not consider the nominal value, we would have to consider it fair value if given. Yeah, on 31st December 2019, the market price of the share is 10. So this is considered as a fair value, and this is the value that we're going to consider. So if you say purchase consideration, it will include 50 lakh and 90,000 shares at rupees 10 each. So let me start this purchase consideration computation. Purchase consideration. What will it include? Cash. How much is the cash paid? 50 lakh. Then shares. How many shares? It is 90,000 shares at 10 rupees each. Shares at rupees 10 per share. That is at shares at market value. We have to take them at fair value. I'll write it as fair value. How much is this? This would be 90,000 multiplied by 10. That comes to 9 lakh. 9 lakh. Perfect, boss. Let's go ahead. So what is the purchase consideration? The equity shares issued. This is tricky here. Okay, let me highlight it in a different color. Yeah, this tells that there is no holding of S Limited in P Limited. S Limited is not acquiring or controlling P Limited. That's the basic message that this line gives. The equity shares issued per as per this transaction will comprise 5% of the post acquisition capital of P Limited. You get that? So it's saying that S Limited doesn't have holding of or doesn't control P Limited. Yeah, so that's the important understanding based on this. In fact, you can ignore this and then go ahead, but I just wanted to tell you what does this line mean in our answer. Let's go to second point. Second point goes like P Limited agrees to pay additional consideration of 4 lakh if there is a very important point here. If so, this is future consideration based on happening or non-happening of a certain event. So this is contingent consideration. If the cumulative profits of S Limited exceeds 40 lakh over the next 2 years. So after we acquiring 95%, in the next 2 years, if S Limited makes 40 lakhs as profit, if it makes more than 40 lakhs as profit, then we'll give you 4 lakhs as consideration. So is this consideration payable right now? No, it is based on certain conditions. Should we include this 4 lakh or not? We would have to include this 4 lakh at the fair value, probable value, if any given to us, based on the actuarial valuation. If that is there, we would take it. If it is not there, we would not take it. That's the point. Yeah. At the acquisition date, it is not considered probable. Baad mein jao. Like we don't really care whether it is considered probable or not probable, whether it is likely, most likely. We would always make provision for such consideration payable based on certain conditions at the fair value, based on the valuation, actuarial valuation effect. Yeah, they have given, okay, probable that extra condition is paid. There is not a probable, there is no probability. Okay, the fair value of the contingent consideration is 2 lakh. They have told that the fair value of that is 2 lakh. So you take it at 4 lakh. Sir, what if in the future that consideration is not fulfilled, conditions are not fulfilled, then we would deduct it at a later stage. That is lateral adjustment. But right now, when we're making provision, we would have to make it. Because this provision, what is made now, can be reversed later. But if we don't make it now, then you cannot provide it at a such later stage. It would have been, it was supposed to be provided on the date of acquisition, isn't it? So we would provide for this 2 lakhs provision at fair value. And at a later stage, if the conditions are not fulfilled, we will reverse it and adjust it on that day. Perfect. So 2 lakhs is to be considered. Yeah. What will I write? Contingent consideration. Contingent. This is not paid. This is not purchase consideration to be paid. This is purchase consideration for the computation of goodwill. On that day, the goodwill will be readjusted if in case the conditions are not fulfilled and this consideration need not be paid. Yeah, contingent consideration at fair value. How much? 2 lakh. You got it? It's a little important point. Don't forget. Then P Limited spent acquisition related costs of 2 lakh. This is not part of, this is not part of our PC. This should not go into PC. This will go to P&L account straight. Yeah, I'll write a note here. I'll write a note here. Yeah, note here, note point A. So what is that point A that I'm telling? What I'm trying to tell is this acquisition related cost. acquisition related cost will be recognized expense in statement of profit or loss. I didn't type statement of profit or loss, but I hope you will understand. Perfect. Come on, let us go to the next one. The fair value of the non-controlling interest is determined to be 5 lakh. Yes, non-controlling interest should be taken at fair value. When would you take this? After computing the purchase consideration, before computation of the goodwill, we will take our non-controlling interest 5 lakh, add it to our purchase consideration. When I add this 5 lakhs to non-controlling interest, I'll arrive at some value. From that, if I deduct my cost of the assets, or what is the fair value of the assets, that's when I'll arrive at goodwill. You get that? So I will arrive at purchase consideration here someplace. Purchase consideration. From this to this purchase consideration, I'll add non-controlling interest. That is that balance 5% at fair value. How much is this non-controlling interest? 5 lakh. After I add this, I'll get some value. From that, if I deduct assets value, then I'll arrive at goodwill, if any. Yeah, I hope you have a basic understanding now. Why did I leave some space here? We don't know. No, we have not completed reading the question. There might be few items. Let's continue reading. Next, yeah, they have told that they wish to measure it at fair value. No problem. P Limited has owned 30% of the shares for several years. We told, right? We told, I did tell you that. I did tell you that as acquisition is happening at, as acquisition is happening at stages. Yeah, previous holdings have to be measured at fair value. Previous holdings, whatever is there, it should be measured at fair value, and balance is to be recognized in P and L. And even in PC computation, we will take such previously held investments at fair value, because that is already in fact given to them. No? They already hold it. Yes, how much is it? They've told that investment is included in the limited consolidated balance sheets at 8 lakh. The fair value of the previous holding accounted for us during the equity method is 18 lakh. So 10 lakh will go to P&L. Yeah, I'll write it here. What is it? Book value, isn't it? Balance sheet value. Balance sheet value is how much? 8 lakh. And fair value as on date of acquisition under equity method. I hope it's not required. It's not necessary for me to type it. 18 lakh. Okay. So what do we do? Income or profit. Or profit on, yeah, revaluation, or profit to be recognized is how much? 10 lakh. And in this computation, what do we take? We would take the investments at what value? We would take it at 18 lakhs all by itself. Okay, fair value of holdings. How much is it? 18 lakh rupees. 18 lakh. Anything else in the question? Then fair value of the assets as on 31st of December 2019 is 45 lakh. This is the value that I'll subtract from my PC plus non-controlling interest. So what is the value of the assets? They've told it is to be 45 lakh. 45 lakh. That's it. We have it all. Assets at, okay, identifiable assets. Fair value of identifiable assets. Okay, let us see how much is the purchase consideration. How much do we get, guys? Is equal to sum of it, sum of this much. We end up getting 79 lakh. 79 plus 5. That comes to 84. 84 lakhs minus 45 lakh. So goodwill is equal to 84 lakh minus 45 lakh. 39 lakh is the goodwill that is to be considered as the goodwill that is arising in this particular case. So that's it. This is computation of goodwill. They asked any accounting entries, analyze the transaction, determine the accounting under acquisition. That's it. So we're done with 4B. This is all we need, sorry, 4C. This is all we need to know about question 4A, B, C. So we're done with question number 4A, 4B, 4C. This is the end of our part 4 in solution discussion video. Very soon I'll come out with part 5 with solution to question number 5, and we'll also have part 6 with solution to question number 6. That's it. I hope it adds little value in your examination preparation. I've been doing detailed discussion of each Ind AS by a separate video, quick revision, and the description to which is available, the link to which is available in the description. You guys can go ahead and then watch the same. I've covered good substantial number of Ind AS, and then the remaining Ind AS will be covered in the upcoming days. And that's it, guys. See you all soon with part 5. Till then, stay in the game. Take care. Bye-bye. Please go. See you all in the next video. Bye.